The evening lights of Los Angeles were soft and golden, yet the hall inside the International Film Summit buzzed with sharp tension. Stars, producers, journalists, and fans filled the grand space, waiting for what they thought would be just another panel. But no one expected that the night would unfold into something unforgettable. Sandra Bullock sat quietly at the center table, her calm smile hiding years of resilience. Beside her was Ana de Armas, looking nervous but trying to keep her confidence steady. Across the table, Keanu Reeves leaned back, his presence silent but strong. The cameras flashed endlessly, capturing every expression, every movement. A journalist, known for asking difficult questions, suddenly leaned forward with a sharp tone. "Ana," he said, his words echoing in the hall, "do you think you really belong here? Many believe your success is only temporary, that you are standing here because of luck and not true talent." The room froze. Whispers moved quickly across the audience. Ana tried to smile, but her hands tightened under the table. Her heart beat faster, her lips trembled slightly. She wanted to answer, but the words refused to come. Before she could speak, Sandra gently placed her hand on Ana's arm. Her eyes turned to the journalist, steady and firm. "Belonging," Sandra said softly, "is not given by others. It is built through hard work, through showing up, and through courage. I have seen Ana's courage, and I know she belongs here more than anyone can imagine." The hall grew silent. No one expected Sandra to step in so openly. Ana's eyes filled with sudden tears, a mix of relief and disbelief. Sandra's voice had not been angry, but it carried the strength of truth. Keanu, sitting quietly, lifted his head. His eyes moved from Sandra to Ana, and then to the audience. He said nothing at first, but his silence had power. The cameras caught his expression, calm, respectful, and thoughtful. But the journalist was not finished. He leaned closer again, pushing further. "But isn't it true," he continued, "that Hollywood only welcomes certain faces and some people are pushed forward even if they are not ready? Should audiences really respect actors who rise too quickly?" A wave of discomfort spread through the crowd. Some guests avoided eye contact, others waited to see what would happen next. The atmosphere was thick with suspense. Ana's breathing grew heavier. This was her fear, that her dreams could be broken by such accusations. But before despair could pull her deeper, Sandra spoke again. This time her voice carried a sharper edge, though still calm. "Respect," she said, "is not measured by speed. It is measured by honesty, kindness, and how one treats others. If you watch closely, Ana carries that respect every single day." The room shifted. Applause began, slow at first, then stronger. Some guests stood up, clapping in agreement. Ana's tears rolled freely now, but her smile grew bright. Keanu finally leaned forward. His voice was quiet, almost like a whisper, yet it traveled across the hall. "Respect is earned not only on screen," he said, "but in the way someone faces moments like this. Tonight, respect does not belong to the question. It belongs to the answer." The hall erupted into loud applause. Flashes from cameras grew brighter, and for a moment the noise was overwhelming. Ana covered her face, overwhelmed with emotion. Sandra squeezed her hand gently. Keanu stayed silent after his words, but his presence was enough to shift the energy in the room. In that moment, the story was no longer about doubt or criticism. It was about kindness standing against cruelty, humility standing against pride, and resilience standing against fear. No one in the audience would forget how Sandra defended Ana and how Keanu's calm respect sealed the moment into history. And yet, what no one knew was that this was only the beginning. Hidden behind the applause, deeper challenges waited. Misunderstandings, quiet battles, and surprising twists were ready to test all three of them in ways they could not imagine. The night after the summit was filled with voices, opinions, and endless debates across media channels. Clips of Sandra's words defending Ana spread across every platform, reaching millions of people around the world. Some praised her kindness, some questioned her boldness, and some tried to twist the story into controversy. But what struck everyone most was Keanu's quiet reaction. Those simple words about respect carried a weight that no headline could ignore. Ana sat alone in her hotel room, her phone buzzing endlessly with messages. She scrolled through comments, some supportive, others cruel. The cruel one stung her heart the most. Her dreams had been hard to build, brick by brick, yet a few sharp words from strangers felt like they could break it all. She closed her eyes and tried to silence the noise, but her chest felt heavy. Meanwhile, Sandra knocked gently on her door. When Anna opened it, Sandra entered without hesitation and hugged her. "You don't have to read all of it," Sandra said softly. "You only need to remember who you are. I've seen your journey, and I know the strength inside you." Anna's eyes welled with tears again. "But why does it hurt so much?" she whispered. Sandra smiled, not with pity, but with deep understanding. "Because you care. Caring is what makes you human, but it also makes you strong. Never let the world steal that from you." On the other side of the city, Keanu sat in a quiet cafe, far from the noise of flashing cameras. He had always chosen silence over unnecessary words, but silence was not emptiness. It was his way of observing, of feeling the truth behind people's actions. He thought about Sandra's courage, about Anna's tears, and about the journalist's harshness. In his heart, he wondered why respect had become something people forgot so easily, why kindness was seen as weakness instead of strength. Suddenly, a stranger at the cafe recognized him. A young woman approached, holding a notebook filled with sketches. Her hands trembled as she placed it on the table. "I just wanted to say, what you said at the summit gave me courage," she said. "I was about to give up on my dream of becoming an artist. People told me I wasn't good enough. But when you said respect belongs to the answer, I realized maybe I was answering in my own way." Keanu looked at the notebook and saw her drawings, imperfect but filled with raw emotion. He smiled gently. "Don't give up," he said. "Every honest effort deserves respect, even if others don't see it yet." The young woman left with tears in her eyes, clutching her notebook like a treasure. Keanu stayed behind, thoughtful. He realized the ripple of kindness could travel farther than anyone imagined. Back at the hotel, a storm of emotions surrounded Anna. The next morning, she received an invitation to a charity event where she, Sandra, and Keanu were all expected. She felt nervous. She worried people would judge her again, whisper behind her back, or even question her presence. Sandra, however, insisted that she come. "Sometimes the only way to silence doubt is to walk straight into it with your head held high," Sandra told her. At the event, the three of them arrived together. Cameras flashed wildly, but this time something was different. Sandra walked close to Anna, her arm linked with hers. Keanu followed just behind them, calm and steady, his quiet strength almost like a shield. People noticed the unity, the bond, and it changed the atmosphere instantly. Inside the hall, an unexpected twist awaited them. The same journalist from the summit was present again, holding his microphone with a smug smile. He was ready to stir conflict once more. He raised his voice. "Anna, yesterday you had someone else speak for you. Today, will you answer for yourself? Or will you always hide behind stronger voices?" A hush fell over the crowd. Sandra's jaw tightened, ready to defend again. But this time Anna stepped forward. Her hands still trembled, but her voice carried a quiet power. "Yesterday I was silent because I was hurt. But today I speak because I have learned. I am not hiding behind anyone. I stand with them, not behind them, and I will keep standing no matter how many times you try to push me down." The hall erupted with applause. Even those who doubted her before could not ignore the courage in her words. The journalist's smile faded, his arrogance shrinking as he lowered his microphone. Keanu's eyes softened as he watched. He leaned slightly toward Sandra and whispered, "She didn't just defend herself. She defended her own future." Sandra nodded, her heart swelling with pride. But just as the applause faded, something unexpected happened. An elderly woman from the audience stood up slowly and asked to speak. Her voice was frail yet filled with emotion. "I came here tonight to see actors I admired," she said. "But what I found was something greater. I lost my daughter years ago and she wanted to be in films. She faced doubt, rejection, and cruelty until she gave up. Watching you, Anna, I see the strength my daughter wished she had. Thank you for giving me peace tonight." The entire hall went silent. Tears streamed down faces everywhere. Anna covered her mouth, overwhelmed by the weight of the woman's words. Sandra's hand found hers again, squeezing gently. Keanu lowered his head respectfully, honoring the woman's pain. The night ended with emotions running deep. Anna had faced her fear, Sandra had given her unwavering support, and Keanu had reminded everyone what true respect meant. Yet beneath the applause and the tears, all three of them felt something else. This was not just about one event or one defense. It was the beginning of a journey that would test their humility, their resilience, and their kindness in ways they had never imagined. Because sometimes the world doesn't just watch your story, it challenges it. And the biggest tests often arrive when you least expect them. A week passed, but the echoes of that charity event were still alive. The clip of Anna's strong reply circled across the world, and people began to see her not as a fragile newcomer, but as someone with resilience. Sandra's defense and Keanu's quiet respect became symbols of kindness in an industry that often thrived on gossip and cruelty. Yet behind the applause, storms were quietly forming, storms that none of them had expected. Anna tried to return to her work, focusing on scripts and rehearsals, but every step seemed heavier. Some producers now praised her openly, while others whispered that she was too emotional to carry big roles. Every meeting felt like a test. Still, she held Sandra's words close to her heart. Belonging is built through courage. Meanwhile, Sandra herself faced criticism. A group of harsh commentators accused her of stealing attention from younger talent. She defended Anna only to keep herself relevant, one article claimed. The words hurt, though she pretended they didn't. At night, she sat in her home, reading those headlines in silence, her hands folded tightly together. Keanu, though less attacked, found himself caught in the middle. Journalists chased him for answers, asking if his support for Sandra and Anna meant he was taking sides in Hollywood's hidden rivalries. He refused to fuel such drama, but the pressure grew. He often walked through the streets at night, finding peace only in quiet corners, wondering why kindness had to be questioned, as if it were a strategy. The turning point came when they were all invited to a global film festival in Europe. It was supposed to be a celebration of cinema, but it turned into something much deeper. When Anna, Sandra, and Keanu arrived, the hall was filled with leaders, directors, and actors from across the world. The atmosphere shimmered with excitement, but also with sharp judgment. As they entered, a renowned critic stepped forward on stage, speaking to the audience with a sly smile. "Hollywood has become a place of staged kindness," he declared. "Actors defend each other not out of truth, but out of fear. The real question is, do we still value honesty, or are we clapping for rehearsed words?" The words pierced the room like arrows. Some nodded, some frowned. Anna's chest tightened. Was this an indirect attack on them? Sandra placed her hand over Anna's, calming her. Keanu remained still, but his eyes grew darker, reflecting a storm inside. Later that evening, the three of them sat together backstage. Anna whispered, "What if they're right? What if people think we're only acting kind, like it's just another role?" Sandra looked at her with quiet strength. "Kindness is never an act when it costs you something. I lost opportunities because I defended you. I don't regret it." Keanu leaned forward, his voice calm yet firm. "Truth doesn't need to shout. It only needs to stand when others sit." His words gave them comfort. But they also carried a warning. Truth would soon be tested again. The festival continued, filled with glamour and speeches, but an unexpected twist came during a panel discussion. A young director stood up and accused Anna directly. "You are praised because famous names protect you," he said. "Without them, you would not survive in this industry. Can you prove otherwise?" The audience gasped. Cameras turned instantly toward her. Anna froze, her throat dry. The silence stretched painfully long until Sandra began to rise. But before she could speak, Keanu placed a gentle hand on her arm, stopping her. "Let her answer," he whispered. Anna stood slowly. Her voice trembled at first, but grew stronger with each word. "Maybe I did not survive alone. But who truly survives alone? We all stand on someone's shoulders, parents, friends, teachers, strangers who gave us a chance. Yes, Sandra defended me. Yes, Keanu respected me. I will never deny that. But that does not make me weak. It makes me human. And if you think humanity is a weakness, then maybe it is not me who doesn't belong here, but the idea that kindness should be hidden." The hall erupted in applause. Some critics shook their heads, but many stood to their feet, clapping with passion. Tears filled Sandra's eyes. Keanu lowered his head, smiling faintly. But just as the applause thundered, something unexpected occurred. The young director who had challenged Anna broke down. He admitted, voice shaking, "My sister once dreamed of acting. She was bullied out of it. I wanted to see if anyone could stand against words, because she never could. You stood tonight. You reminded me of her strength." The entire atmosphere shifted. People no longer saw conflict. They saw healing, respect, and truth. Anna stepped forward and embraced the director. The cameras captured the moment, and it traveled like fire through the world. That night, as they walked back to their hotel under the European night sky, Sandra whispered, "The world thinks we're teaching them something. But I think the world is teaching us too." Keanu nodded, his gaze fixed on the stars above. "Every test we face isn't just about us. It's about those who see themselves in us. We carry more hearts than we know." Anna listened silently, her heart lighter than before. She had faced another storm, and this time she had not only survived, she had inspired. But deep inside, she knew more storms were waiting. Storms that would not only test her, but also test the unshakable bond she was building with Sandra and Keanu, because respect, once earned, is never safe. It must be protected again and again. The glow of the European festival still lingered, but as days passed, shadows began to grow. Praise filled the headlines, yet whispers of doubt crept through hidden corners of the industry. People began to question if the unity between Sandra, Anna, and Keanu was too perfect, too carefully shaped for the cameras. Behind the scenes, rival studios and critics searched for cracks, eager to turn admiration into suspicion. Anna, though stronger now, still carried scars from the words she once feared. She walked into auditions with her chin raised, but in the quiet of her room, she questioned herself again and again. Sandra noticed it. She had seen that same doubt in her own younger years, when her confidence was tested by cruel voices. She knew the battle inside Anna's heart was far from over. Keanu, meanwhile, began to sense tension building around them. He noticed how journalists framed their bond as strategic friendship, as if kindness could only be calculated. He stayed quiet, but his silence was filled with thought. He knew that sometimes the harshest battles are not fought in public. They unfold in the spaces where no one is watching. The real storm arrived during a high-profile interview. All three of them were invited to a live television broadcast meant to celebrate the success of the festival. At first, the questions were light, about upcoming films, about the beauty of collaboration. But soon the host leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Sandra, some say your defense of Anna was staged to keep yourself relevant. How do you respond?" Sandra's smile faltered for just a second, but she quickly steadied herself. "I do not defend people for relevance. I defend people because it is the right thing to do. If that costs me roles or reputation, so be it." The audience applauded, but the host wasn't satisfied. He turned to Keanu. "And you, Keanu? Many believe your silence and short words are rehearsed to create mystery. Do you truly believe what you say, or is it just performance?" The room stiffened. Keanu paused, his eyes locked with the host's. Then he answered slowly, "Silence is not performance. It is listening. Respect begins when you choose to listen before you speak." The crowd erupted in support, but the host quickly turned his focus to Anna. "And you, Anna, without their defense, would you even be here? Maybe you are standing on borrowed strength." Anna froze. The sting of his words cut deep, even after all she had learned. She tried to respond, but her voice trembled. She started, but the words faded. Before Sandra could intervene, Keanu placed his hand gently on the table. "Let her speak," he whispered, just as he had done before. Anna swallowed hard, fighting her fear. "Yes," she said finally, "I stood on their strength, but only because they shared it with me. And one day, I will share mine with others who need it. Borrowed strength is not weakness. It is proof that we are stronger together than apart." Applause filled the studio. Some even stood clapping with tears in their eyes. But behind the cameras, the producer frowned. He whispered to his assistant, "Too perfect. No story survives without cracks. Find them." Later that night, as they walked out of the studio, Sandra felt uneasy. "They won't stop until they break us," she murmured. Keanu looked at her quietly. "Then we must not break." But the breaking point arrived sooner than they imagined. A false rumor began to spread online. An article claimed that Sandra and Anna had secretly fought behind closed doors and that Keanu was forced to take sides. Though untrue, the story spread like fire. Photos were twisted, interviews edited, and suddenly their bond of kindness was painted as fragile. Anna read the article first. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the lies. She called Sandra, her voice filled with panic. "They are saying I turned against you." "I would never," Sandra interrupted gently. "I know, Anna. I know your heart. Don't let their lies destroy what is true." Yet the media storm did not slow down. Fans argued online, dividing into groups. Some defended Anna, some stood by Sandra, and others accused Keanu of favoritism. It was chaos, and the three of them were caught in the middle. In the middle of this storm, an unexpected test came. A major film studio offered Anna a leading role in a project that could change her career. But there was a condition. She had to distance herself publicly from Sandra and Keanu, proving she could stand on her own. Anna was torn. The offer was everything she had dreamed of, yet the cost was betrayal. She sat in her apartment all night, staring at the script in her hands, tears blurring her vision. The next morning, she met Sandra and Keanu. Her voice shook as she told them about the offer. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. Sandra's eyes softened, though pain flickered deep inside. "This is your choice, Anna, but remember, no dream is worth losing yourself." Keanu leaned forward, his voice steady. "The world will try to force you to choose between kindness and success. But real success is when you don't have to choose at all." Anna broke down, sobbing. "Why does it feel like every step forward comes with a wound?" Sandra hugged her tightly. "Because growth always carries scars. But scars are proof that you survived." Their bond grew stronger in that moment, but the world outside didn't see their tears, only the headlines. The rumors still spread, and the studio's offer still lingered. Anna had to make a choice soon, one that could either protect her dream or protect her bond with those who stood by her. And in that fragile balance, the greatest test of respect, humility, and resilience was waiting, just beyond the horizon. The night before Anna had to give her answer to the studio felt endless. She paced back and forth in her apartment, her mind torn between ambition and loyalty. Outside, the city lights shone brightly, but inside her room, everything felt dark and heavy. She replayed Sandra's words in her head. "No dream is worth losing yourself." She replayed Keanu's quiet wisdom. "Real success is when you don't have to choose at all." Yet the contract on her table tempted her like a whisper, offering fame and power, but asking for silence and distance in return. By morning, her eyes were red from sleepless tears. She decided to meet Sandra and Keanu one last time before giving her answer. When she arrived at Sandra's house, the two of them were already there, waiting in quiet calm, as if they sensed the weight of her decision before she spoke. Anna placed the contract on the table, her voice shaking. "If I say yes, they'll push me into the spotlight. But I'll have to step away from both of you. If I say no, I may never get another chance like this. What should I do?" Sandra leaned forward, her gaze firm yet gentle. "Anna, no one can tell you what to do. But remember, the wrong road can still look golden. Ask yourself, do you want success that shines only on screens or success that lets you sleep at night?" Keanu remained silent for a long moment, then spoke softly. "Whatever choice you make, respect yourself first. Respect is heavier than fame. Once you lose it, it is hard to hold again." Anna listened, her heart trembling. She wanted both, her dream and her bond. But in a world where kindness was questioned, it seemed impossible to keep them together. The next day, she arrived at the studio office, greeted by polished smiles and cold contracts. The executives waited eagerly. "So, Anna," one of them said, "are you ready to prove you can stand alone?" Anna looked at the papers in front of her. Her hands trembled, but her eyes grew steady. "I am ready to stand," she said, "but not alone. I will not cut ties with those who stood by me. If that means losing this role, then I accept." The room fell silent. The executives exchanged shocked glances. One of them laughed bitterly. "You just threw away your biggest chance." "You'll regret this." Anna stood tall. "Maybe, but I won't regret keeping my respect." She walked out of the office, her heart pounding but lighter than it had been in days. When she returned to Sandra and Keanu, she broke into tears, falling into their arms. "I said no," she whispered. "I lost the role, but I didn't lose you." Sandra hugged her tightly, whispering, "You didn't lose anything. You gained your voice." Keanu placed his hand gently on her shoulder. The world doesn't reward every right choice immediately, but the right choice never leaves you empty. Their bond grew even stronger, but the storm outside grew fiercer. Media outlets twisted the story, accusing Sandra of manipulating Anna's decision, accusing Keanu of pulling strings behind the scenes. Headlines screamed of betrayal, control, and hidden agendas. Instead of praising Anna's courage, they painted her as weak once again. The three of them became the center of a storm that felt unstoppable. Even friends in the industry began to distance themselves, afraid of being pulled into the fire. But then, an unexpected voice rose from the shadows. The elderly woman who had once spoken at the charity event wrote an open letter. In it, she told the world how she had seen true kindness in Sandra's defense, in Keanu's respect, and in Anna's courage to face cruelty. She reminded everyone that humanity is not weakness, that borrowed strength is not shame, and that standing together is not manipulation, it is survival. The letter spread across the internet, gathering support from ordinary people who saw their own struggles reflected in Anna's story. Factory workers, students, single parents, and dreamers from small towns shared their voices. They said they too had been lifted by someone else's hand, they too had borrowed strength, and they too had been judged for it. Suddenly, the narrative began to shift. What was once painted as scandal now became a movement. Hashtags about respect, humility, and kindness began to trend. Crowds outside theaters held signs not of protest, but of support. They weren't shouting for movies, they were shouting for humanity. Yet just as hope began to rise, the journalist who had first attacked Anna returned with a new strike. He released a video claiming to expose hidden conflicts between the three. The video was edited, twisting moments of silence into tension, turning smiles into frowns, and creating the illusion of betrayal where there was none. The world gasped. Doubt returned. Fans questioned everything. Sandra, Keanu, and Anna sat together in a quiet room watching the video. The silence after it ended was heavy. Sandra finally spoke, her voice trembling. "How do we fight lies that people want to believe?" Keanu's gaze was steady, though his heart ached. "We don't fight with louder lies. We stand, even if our silence hurts. Truth has its own timing." Anna closed her eyes, tears falling. But what if the truth comes too late? No one answered. The storm outside grew louder, and the three of them could only hold on to each other as the waves crashed. They didn't know it yet, but the final test was coming. A test that would not only challenge their respect for each other, but also decide how the world remembered them. The storm that had followed them for weeks reached its peak on the night of the Global Awards ceremony. It was the grandest stage of the year, with the world watching, and Sandra, Anna, and Keanu were all scheduled to appear together. Outside the venue, reporters lined up with flashing cameras, eager not just to celebrate films, but to witness the scandal they believed was unfolding. As the three of them arrived, tension wrapped around them like a cold chain. Sandra wore a steady smile, but her eyes revealed fatigue. Anna walked close beside her, clutching her dress nervously, her heart pounding. Keanu followed with his usual quiet calm, yet inside he was battling the weight of knowing this night could either heal everything or shatter it beyond repair. The ceremony began with glamour and cheers, but the moment of truth arrived sooner than anyone expected. Midway through the event, the journalist who had caused so much chaos was invited on stage to ask a bold question. He smirked as he looked toward the three of them, holding the microphone like a weapon. "The world has seen your friendship," he began, "but many believe it is built on lies, on staged kindness and hidden agendas. Tonight, before the entire world, I ask you, can you prove your bond is real, or is this another performance for applause?" The hall went silent. All eyes turned to them. Anna felt her chest tighten, fear rising again. Sandra reached for her hand under the table, steadying her. Keanu lowered his head, as if searching for the right moment to speak. Then, something unexpected happened. Anna stood. Her voice was soft at first, but filled with raw emotion. "You want proof?" she said. "Then listen. I was once too scared to speak, too weak to defend myself. Sandra defended me when I couldn't. Keanu respected me when others mocked me. That was not performance. It was humanity. If you can't see that, then maybe you've forgotten what real respect looks like." Sandra rose next, her voice firm. "I defended her not for attention, not for relevance, but because kindness is never wasted. If defending someone costs me opportunities, I accept that cost. I would rather lose work than lose my humanity." Then Keanu finally stood, his presence commanding silence. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. "The question is not whether our bond is real. The question is why the world finds kindness so hard to believe. Respect is not a performance. Humility is not weakness. Resilience is not a trick. Tonight, if you still doubt us, doubt all you want. But know this, we will keep standing together, even when it hurts." For a moment, the hall remained silent. Then, one by one, people began to clap. At first softly, then louder, until the entire venue erupted in thunderous applause. Some stood, tears in their eyes. Even critics who once doubted them felt the truth in their words. But the most shocking moment came when the journalist who had attacked them lowered his microphone. His hands trembled, and for the first time, his confident smile disappeared. His voice broke as he whispered into the microphone, I once believed kindness was weakness, because I never had it when I needed it. I see now I was wrong." The hall gasped. The man who had fueled so much pain had admitted his own. He stepped back, his eyes lowered in shame. Anna, without hesitation, walked toward him. She placed her hand gently on his arm and said, "It's not too late. Kindness doesn't close its doors. You can still carry it forward." The hall fell into stunned silence again and then erupted once more into applause. This time, it wasn't just for Sandra, Anna, and Keanu. It was for the power of respect, for the courage of humility, and for the healing strength of kindness. That night, the three of them walked off stage together, their bond unshaken, their respect for each other deeper than ever. Outside, cameras flashed, but this time the headlines were different. They no longer spoke of scandal. They spoke of unity, courage, and truth. In the weeks that followed, the story spread beyond Hollywood. People in schools, workplaces, and communities began to talk about kindness not as weakness, but as strength. Letters arrived from strangers around the world, saying how they had found courage in their story. Courage to defend a friend, to respect themselves, to rise after being broken. Anna continued her journey, no longer afraid of the weight of doubt. Sandra kept standing for others, her strength becoming a beacon. Keanu remained the quiet force of respect, his few words carrying more than entire speeches. They had faced lies, criticism, and fear. They had been tested again and again. But in the end, they showed the world that respect is not a gift, it is a choice. Kindness is not staged, it is lived. Humility is not silence, it is strength. And resilience is not about never falling, it is about always rising. Their story became more than headlines. It became a reminder that even in a world filled with noise, the quiet truth of kindness will always be louder.